Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
And I'm Randy.
This is episode 49 of our podcast, and the date is Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. So you're back from deep under the weather? You feeling pretty good, ready to go?
Most of it was coughing, and gave myself kind of a pain in the neck just from coughing.
Wow, that's severe.
Yeah.
And
tested twice for COVID, came up negative both times. So
you got a unique illness.
Oh, it was probably, could have been strep. The funny thing is the doctor didn't even look. I went to the Ready Med twice, like I was telling you before we started.
Yeah.
The first time the doctor didn't even look in my throat.
You're fine. Shut up. Thanks, Doc.
Okay, so there are among a lot of doctors, if it's a virus, you let it run its course.
Right.
Of course, if it was COVID, they wouldn't do that.
No, they wouldn't do that because that virus is
later on your face and then kill you. But at least they did at the beginning. It's not common now, but
take a toilet plunger in your mouth, start pulling your guts out. Yeah.
But you get a virus, an upper respiratory infection, which is what I think I had.
Mm-hmm.
They just say treat the symptoms and let it run its course. Others will give you antivirals. There are a few. Some will even have you do a puffer, inhaler that's a steroid that'll help out. So
they just slapped you on your hand and said, go home.
Yeah, and the over-the-counter cough suppressants were not very good. And also the decongestants were making my blood pressure go up.
Oh, that's not good.
No, they said don't take those. But when I went and took the regular anti-cough medicines, nothing was happening. So I was like, screw you, hippie. I'm going to take this other stuff, which I did. And then I went back and they said, don't take that stuff. And they gave me a prescription for cough medicine. It's just a little very small gel cap, and I can't remember what it's called, but
helped.
It worked. Yeah, it helped a lot.
Cool.
And then I got a Z-Pack, and the thing is, it started that Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get any real medicine until Friday.
Right.
So I was miserable for 4 nights, and not really treated until that weekend.
Oh.
And then by Sunday I was fine.
Huh.
So if they would have just given me that stuff on Monday,
no, you've been a lot better middle of the week.
In a lot of foreign countries, you can go get those things yourself and just pay cash. The Z-Pack and stuff, you don't need a doctor.
Right.
But here we got a lot of stupid regulations about, what I'm allowed to put in my body or not. And so, because Z-Packs are not dangerous. Like a lot of other things might be, but in any case,
yes,
within about 3 days, I was feeling much better. By Monday, I started treatment Friday. By Monday, I was fine. Well, Sunday night, Monday.
I carried the load Wednesday, though, man.
You did.
That was totally weird, by the way. I did miss having you here. It's weird talking like right into a mic. I think about some of the other guys that do that. Like Jason does that a lot. Connerly. Who else? John Alan Lars do that periodically. Tinkar does it a lot. I don't know. I guess maybe that's why I think I understand why their episodes tend to be a little shorter, though Connerly's been doing some longer ones.
Yeah, I've that whole week, Monday through Friday, even that weekend, I didn't really listen to anything.
Really? You just said no.
I only barely listened to your podcast.
I didn't expect you to listen to mine at all.
Yeah. I don't listen to our podcast very much when I'm not on it. What's the point?
I was there. What's the point? Yeah.
I wasn't there.
No.
But I would be drawn.
Even when you are there, you don't care. No. I already did it. I was there. I know what happened.
No, but I also used that week to try to kick my Mountain Dew habit.
Oh.
I didn't have any Mountain Dew at all that week, and I didn't have any Monday or Tuesday. But I was feeling really down this morning, so I ended up drinking some. But I'll be back off the wagon tomorrow on the wagon.
Yeah. So the gamer giving up Mountain Dew, that just doesn't sound right.
Not really. It must happen.
Yeah.
I got on the scale and I was 270. That's no good.
Oh, dude. I'm bigger than that. That's all right. I'm turning the corner too. I'm giving up all soda again. I did that for a few weeks, got off the wagon. Now I'm back on it again.
I'm also doing the intermittent fasting thing.
Yeah, that's working out good.
Because all I do is walk all morning.
You're starving.
I'm really active and I'm not eating anything. And I'm like, that's no good.
Well, yesterday I did a 25-mile bike ride and 150 push-ups. Granted, they were pretty crappy push-ups, but I mean, I was on my toes the whole time. So they were full on push-ups, but they sucked really. And I didn't eat nothing until after I was done. I can imagine you walking 10 miles, dude. That's crazy. All right, bud. We got some call-ins.
We do. And I want to mention before we do the call-ins, so I won't forget, I want to mention that Josh sent us a story. Let's see, where is
via email?
No, well, I'm not sure why he doesn't send an email. He likes Facebook Messenger. It's on Bell of Lost Souls. It's a WizKids announcement about this brand new line of miniatures that are sprue-based. So essentially, for more people who are more into painting and stuff like that, because they're all attached to the little, the sprues. You know what a sprue is?
Sprue, S-P-R-U?
I think it's an E at the
E-W?
end. It's a plastic framework where so not only is it for the folks who like to paint, it's for the folks who like to put their minis together.
Oh, okay.
These will be in pieces. You'll take them off the sprues and you will assemble them, and then you will. So more work for the customer. I don't know the price points. I don't know if that was in the article. I should look at it again.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not interested because I'm not interested in any minis that aren't painted.
Right. A lot of us aren't, but there are a lot of people who like to paint. I'm just not. There are a lot of people who are into the assemblage part, but people who like that stuff will probably be okay with it.
We're model builders.
We're talking lots of parts for very complicated miniatures. Looks like it's called Dungeons and Dragons frameworks.
Okay.
So they have a beholder here, and it looks like it's got like 30 pieces to it.
Oh wow! No, thank you. Yeah. But hey, people love it. Do it, man. Build those models. Paint them and sell them to me.
Price point here, so who knows if it's as expensive as regular painted or even unpainted but assembled miniatures.
No way.
Or a full. I mean, they're not assembled. They're 3D printed, I believe, and in whole. I don't think there's too many different parts, except for maybe the really large ones.
Right.
So yeah. So no price is given, but if they are anything like the regular price, I don't see how it's worth it.
I think it's called Nolzur's, which is an old wizard from D&D. Nolzur was named some of the spells. And Nolzur's unpainted miniatures, they have those. They're quite a bit cheaper than the painted ones.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so if they're going to go one step further and disassemble them, they better be another chunk cheap. Right. I mean, I would think if a mini cost $8 painted, $4 unpainted, it better be $2 when it's in pieces.
Right. So there might be an enthusiast segment of the market that likes these things.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
It's as big as the folks like us who want them already painted.
Right.
But it might be big enough for them to make.
Though, I wonder. That's a good question. I wonder if painted, forget the building you're on.
Right.
Painted, unpainted minis. I've heard people a lot of times say they did because they didn't like the quality of the early days when Hasbro or WotC came out with their first set of painted minis. Harbinger set, which I got a butt ton of. And I agree they weren't great, but you know what? I didn't have to paint them.
Right.
And I'm not a painter, so it was fine for me. But I would be interested to know of the hobby, a miniature hobby enthusiast probably wants to paint them.
Yeah, there's a segment of our hobby that likes painting, but I'm not. Who knows what the numbers are? mean,
Yeah.
bones
Yeah.
are unpainted, and they always sell like gangbusters.
Yeah, they do.
So it might be sizable, or it might be people just think that they're a good deal and they get them and they don't paint them like me.
Well, and bones look good. Well, I did that. I sold mine to Patrick, so a chunk of them. The first set I bought, the only set I bought, I kept a few, and they're still unpainted. So anyway,
all right. So let's go to emails. They're all from Jason.
call-ins or emails.
Collins.
Okay.
Share.
Yeah, I had a little fun with the tech trying to get that stuff to work last week, but it did.
Good deal.
Right.
Yeah, I got it. I got all the stuff together. I even fixed a little thing for you. Could you tell?
What's that?
Could you tell where I fixed your thing that you wanted me to fix?
Yes,
Jason?
that was cool. Much appreciated. Yeah. That was smooth.
Smooth,
Smooth.
like butter.
Butter.
All right.
Play it.
Hey, Jason here. I hope Joe's feeling better soon. Hate that he's sick. I apologize for coming across broken and stupid in my calls. Here in my calls, I don't want to call you guys anymore because I sound like an idiot. But that said, I will work on that in the future. I did watch all the He-Man show, and to be honest with you, I agree with Joe's assessment. It's meh. The voice cast is really good, but ultimately the show isn't that great. They try to hit some adult themes like, keeping secrets from each other, things like that, and they kind of fall flat. They don't do a good job with handling those adult themes. They just do it lip service mainly. But all in all, yeah, I don't think you're missing anything if you don't watch the show. I know Joe really liked the ending of the fifth episode, which is the middle part of the season, because they actually made 10 episodes and Netflix broke into half. But I don't know.
Well, I did watch it, and I got a response to Joe's suggestion, and we'll do that. Joe Richter, that is, and I'll do that in the negative plane because I go pretty far in depth. I took my time on it, and I watched it close, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about it more later. Personally, I'll give some comments later.
Joe's not wrong. They do have an opposition between technology and magic in this, which is kind of weird because in the original show and in the toys, tech and magic just coexisted. Where here, they're definitely, you have, I don't know if they're saying tech versus magic. They're characters that have taken the stance technology is better than magic. I don't know if the show's saying that as much as it's saying as magic is necessary. But you guys have to watch, form your own opinions, and let us know what you think. Ultimately, I don't think it's as bad as people say, but I don't think it's all that great either. I'll have to watch the second half of the show, and when they have season 2, episodes 6 through 10 come out, so I can give a final verdict. We'll see what the fate of He-Man is and how he's handled in the second half. But anyhow, I will listen to the rest of the show.
That was actually the part I liked. And I do think it's not so much they said tech versus magic. I think it was that dude with the multiple eyes. Again, I'm not a He-Man dude. He was like upset that Skeletor's ways have failed forever and he used magic. So he was going to he was going to use technology to take control of Eternia. So
is that the guy that ended up being Evil Lyn?
No. This is a different character. He's
I know it's a different character. What I'm saying is I know there was somebody who Evil Lyn posed as and sent Teela off on something.
No, that was a witch she posed as.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Some of the things that are problematic with the series might get resolved in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt it.
We'll see.
And the other thing is I don't have Netflix, so I'll never be able to watch it.
I'm going to watch it when it comes out.
I don't know if that last message came through, but as far as one game versus many games, the advantage of one game is, yes, you'll be more dedicated. You'll have system mastery as far as like knowing the rules, all that kind of thing. And chances are your campaign could go longer. It's not necessarily guaranteed. There's no reason you can't have a campaign and story that you switch game systems as you're playing. I'm getting ready to join a game, hopefully if our schedules work out, where we're going to use Savage Worlds as the main system, but then there are going to be times we're going to hop back and forth, do flashbacks and all that. And like the flashbacks might be one session, might be a flashback or something. And we might switch game systems in those flashbacks to get a chance to experience different game systems. Like we might use Fate for a flashback to experience that more narrative game and things like that. So that'll be interesting.
That could be intriguing. If you're playing a Rift's apocalyptic world, you could do Savage World as your core. But if you want to go, like take that idea of a flashback, go back and do Rift's Palladium, you know, and then use Gamma World and another flashback. That could be interesting. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be said though about the more I'm finding the older I get, the more games I play, the less well I play them.
Well, we do end up having a mastery over the system that we are most familiar with and play most, because rules come to mind faster, even if it's a large rule set.
Yeah.
Unless you don't play very much, or you just don't pay attention to the rules, which some people don't. Some people never learn the rules.
No.
But if you are playing the game and you are absorbing it as you're playing, then you can learn the rules like they're in the back of your hand. And
I think it's hard. I would argue it's hard to learn rule if you play. And I'm not defending like mono gaming. I'm just saying that if you play 4 or 5 systems, let's say you play 4 systems over a month. I don't think most role-playing games you master in 3 months.
No, especially if it's a large rule set or rules
have nuances,
or if they have a lot. If like Pathfinder and 3rd edition both had a very large volume of stuff.
Yes.
So you can learn the core of the rules.
Oh, sure.
Pretty quickly, but getting it down and then absorbing the rest of that. I had a word for it, but I can't remember it. Just that body of work that is in the game, at least as much as you want to use for your own character, or even if you're the DM, you need to absorb a lot more probably, but that takes time.
And not, we're clearly not people that are fans of CR and challenge ratings that are appropriate, but you got to be careful. There are games, especially in Savage Worlds and games like, I would say even something like Palladium. You gotta watch what you stick against your group. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I mean, that's okay. But if you're concerned about them having a little success, and that takes sometimes those systems without CR guidance takes playtime to understand how certain powers work. You can read a power and go, that doesn't look that tough. I've done that in Savage Worlds. And then you get it to the table and you're like, holy crap, this is a butt kicker. That does happen. And I think that's more likely to happen. And in a game like 3.5, if you've never played 3.5 D&D or 3rd edition or Pathfinder, none of those, it's going to be a lot. 3 months is not going to be enough. You'll be able to do the core, but as a DM, and if you're playing, imagine you're a DM playing, if you have, say you only have a few months experience with the game and a few players have several years, they come with certain builds and you just have a hard time thinking about how you're going to handle those players. I remember Joe Richter called in and said, someone builds a trip monkey, he has a counter for that. And he thinks it's cool. And that's true, but Joe's been playing a long time. I have too. I can find ways to get around super powerful builds, but it doesn't come because, I'm just a great strategist and I know the game. It's because I played the game for a long time and I know it well. And I know, that's the mechanic they're taking advantage of, so I'm going to counter it this way.
Right.
That comes from experience, not just from reading through the rules once and playing the core mechanics.
Right.
But it depends on if you don't want mastery, who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
I was listening to Eric July today, several of his episodes, and he was talking about video gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there was a movement called Get Better, but it was called toxic because how dare you insinuate that game players have to have skill at the game you're playing.
Right.
And he was talking about some history, game history, and how the desire for people to experience the high end of the game without actually playing it created the micro payment, in part,
Really?
at least micropayment thing. So the pressure for that on the pressure from these folks on the game companies to allow them to pay to play, essentially
Microtransactions.
microtransactions.
Yeah, that's the word I think they use.
Yeah, to be able to get into the game by just forking over some dough and not being very skilled was the thing. And they said, okay, we'll take your money.
Of course. But
Why not?
I thought that's why they had things like easy mode and adventuring mode and hard mode and god mode. I've heard my buddy Josh talk about that, the different levels of playing the game. I thought that's what that was for. So if you want to experience the whole game, if it's a console game, you just put it on easy mode. I mean, my wife and I did that with the recent
Right. There was a push for something
Diablo
easier.
Ultimate Edition. Yeah.
There was a push for something easier than easy mode.
Well,
Yeah.
You have to learn how to play the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
whatever that is. I don't know what that is.
I wonder how much. I know there was a time when we talked about system mastery.
Yeah.
But I think there's a movement away from system mastery.
Yep.
And as if there's something wrong with that. I don't know if it's been called toxic. I haven't even looked it up to see, but
Well, that was the Ivory Tower game design they talked about when Monty Cook had that article, and people got all mad at him because he's like, well, we put in toughness as a feat for people that wanted to make a bad choice, so you could learn. And
I don't think that's a good game design, but I understand.
But that's part of that point. System mastery. You don't choose that, you choose this. But
I think there's probably a better way to design your game.
I'm not, fair enough, but I mean, part of it is
crap choices.
Sometimes when you want simple, if a person wants simple, they're going to lose mastery.
Sure.
If you want something simple, I can't promise you're going to be the best character. In fact, in D&D 3.5, I can promise you're not.
Right.
Now, 13th age, you'll still be pretty good. You can't blow it. I wonder, and this question for Jason, he plays a lot of different games. Here's another thing. When you play a lot of different games, maybe they don't delve into the game as deeply. Maybe it's just the core mechanics and a few other cool bells and whistles on the characters that they explore, and the rest of it's role playing. And they don't care about every little detail. Like, I want to have a character who has to build a castle in D&D, so I want to learn the rules for domain building and use them in Rule Cyclopedia. Whereas maybe another player, I want to play a 14th level character and not worry about it. Do some cool adventures, and I got this cool ability to do Smash, and I want to do it.
Right.
As a fighter.
As far as I can tell, a lot of that gaming is short duration. So there's really no way they can get that deep into the rules.
And maybe that's not what they want to do. They just want to experience the game. And
it might just be situational too. That's just what they can get.
Question, Jason, what is your longest running campaign you've played since you become an adult? That'd be a good thing to know. Yep.
We are waiting for your answer.
We are right now. This, the rest of the podcast will be Joe and I waiting.
Something tells me he's probably we're gonna have to wait till first thing in the morning.
Yes.
That's usually a lot of times when we get his call.
Okay.
All right, moving along.
And the other game I'm in now that hopefully is going to be long going, that the plan is for it to be a long-term campaign, is an Ash game. Although we might, Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer's Hyboria, the second edition, may switch. I think most of us backed Hyperborea, the new third edition, and we might switch to that when it comes out, although it's backwards compatible. But so hopefully that'll give me a long-term game, and like you guys, I'll be able to have a long-term game for once in many years. But overall, what I've done is I pick one or two systems I'm really comfortable with, and those are the systems I run, and then I'm willing to play in just about anything. So. But yeah, it's complicated, and the problem with one system is, of course, you miss out on a lot as far as the mechanics and the interesting things. So there needs to be some kind of compromise, and it's tough.
He's got a little one here. Let's see what he has to say for his last one.
Okay.
Anyhow, best of luck to you. Take care of yourself, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jason,
thanks,
for
Jason.
well wishes.
Yes.
It was a long 5 days of coughing and coughing, keeping my wife up at night, and all that. But
Probably not sleeping too well either when you're coughing.
no, I wasn't. I was really exhausted most of the time. Plus,
Yeah.
I didn't get any of my normal caffeine, and which is a drag.
That makes you, Well, I'll tell you that we're going to get to that Masters of the Universe revelation in the negative plane, which is going to be kind of I want to say it might be long, it might not be long. I've got about 10 or 11, 12 things I want to talk about there. But yeah, I did do my homework, Joe Rector, so you need to listen.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah.
You might not care.
Hey, he threw the gauntlet down, and
Huh?
I liked it. I liked that he threw the gauntlet down, but I picked that sucker up.
Yes. it would have to be you. Like I said, I don't have Netflix. And
Right.
to be honest, when it comes to He-Man,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not a big fan.
I was not either.
Not
I
a fan
didn't.
at all, really.
I'm still not a fan at all. But I did it because I had to. We'll get to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did
we'll get to
because
it.
I had to.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next on the agenda
Gender.
is the contest.
Next week, dude, episode 50.
Right.
How many people we got signed up now?
6.
Oh, D6.
Oh,
Perfect.
hold on.
Oh, hold on. He's checking.
I'm going to
Everyone-
check. No.
You got till next Tuesday or Wednesday morning early.
But there is someone who has not. When you sign up for the contest, it sends you a confirmation email
Mhm.
so that we can make sure that none of it is garbage, right? So,
Right.
So we have one person who is not confirmed
Okay.
their subscription to the contest page.
Oh, okay.
The email is ffwormy@gmail.com.
Okay, Wormy. Get on that, dude. You might
need
get a
to
sweet book.
Confirm. Otherwise, you will not be in the running. So, so there are 5 plus Wormy, would make
Mhm.
6. So, to me, that says we only have 6 people listening to us.
Dude, that's 6 more than we had last year. That's not good.
No,
Of course, they may not be interested in the books that I'm trying to give away.
may not.
Or they may just think these biggest geekest guys are geeks, and they would be right.
They would be.
Be right. But yeah, the contest of champions, as we don't call it. I always call it that. So next week, and we might have I think we're gonna have one guest for sure. We may have 2 that'll be on with us next week.
Oh,
Yep.
really?
We got 1, maybe 2. So we have a total of 4 people. That may happen.
Okay, so we should do a different format instead
We
of.
will be. We will be. Be different. It'll basically just me talking and you guys clapping.
Oh.
At the appropriate time. Well done, Sir Randall.
I'm going to be.
I think Joe's sick again. So any good news this past week? Now that you're over the sickness?
Not being sick.
That is good news. Thank God for that. Yeah.
I saw on 10 Cars page
Mhm.
a download link to what was the old Mystara?
Mascara, I got it.
Yeah.
I downloaded it. I think you'll love it.
Kind of. They have turtles.
Oh, that's right.
Makes you
And
kinda
they do
feel-
open up with, and they don't have gods apparently. If the opening blurb is to be believed.
They may not have in the original one. They may not have discussed it.
I don't know. There's clerics, but there's no gods. But that's going to get to our dig this setting today. So
Right.
Cool.
So,
All right. But yeah, cool. We had cooler weather
dig
earlier this week.
setting. Oh yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
We're gonna do
gotcha.
we're gonna do Eberron today. Yeah.
So that was nice to look at.
Mhm.
Some odd things about the art, though. There was one that was really kind of a picture,
Mhm.
somewhat of a filter over the top of it. So it wasn't really artwork. So
I mean, the art for Mystara or for Eberron?
for Mystara, for the Mystara.
Oh,
It looks like the guy probably got a bunch of open source or free art.
Yeah, because he's not making this for sale, I don't believe.
Right, it's free.
Unless he kickstarts and has it printed. He's making it because he was what was his name? He was the lead guy on Mystara.
Okay.
So it was kind of his baby back in the day, and apparently he was going to make a hardback. He was scheduled to make I remember hearing this on Tinker, I think. Maybe I read it on his page. He was scheduled to make a hardback by TSR for Mystara, and then something happened, and then the 90s issue, the problem they had started running, and his project just got stuck to the back. Yeah, and he was excited about making a hardback book for the Mystara setting, which would have been cool.
Yeah,
I bought a few other things, and I like it because it's kind of you know what? Maybe we should read that. Maybe we'll read that and dig that setting next week. You and I should read that download that sometime soon because I've got it on my iPad. So
yeah, I skimmed through it already a bit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But yeah, nothing else for me for this week. Just same old.
Yeah. So the contest Ender is next week. Well, the first phase of the contest ends next week, and then we'll get into the contest proper after that.
For you, yes. Well, let's see. So next week it ends, and on the show we're going to announce a winner, right? Because we're going to roll the D6 plus or minus 2, or whatever it is. And
yeah, probably won't. I'm really not confident considering
6 people. That's all right. We got some. Look, I got Xochi dice for DCC. I can roll D3. I can roll a D3. I can roll a D5. I can roll a D7. It don't matter to me. I got it all.
Yeah. D7.
You love that, don't you?
Crackheads.
Mud Sword's going to be based on a D7. Kind of like Encore, the Kingdom of the Gods, is based on a D12. We're going to base one on a D7.
Well, at least the D12 is a proper die with even sides.
Polyhedral.
Yes. All right. So that endeth the positive material plane. On to our 10 inspirational books.
Yes, main topic today, the 10 inspirational books. We did
what they can do for you.
Huh?
And what they can do for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to have you go first. I went first in the movies. So
yes, I'll go first
on the books.
Yes. So in no particular order. Dune by Frank Herbert. And some of these are series instead of individual books, because I've read the series and it's hard to pick out any one particular book. So the Magician series by Raymond D. Feist.
Yeah, you talked about that a lot.
Belgariad by David Eddings. I didn't think the Belgariad is a 5-book series. Then there was the Malorian after that, and there might have been another one. I didn't care for the Malorian that well, but I really like the Belgariad.
Is that the White Gold Wielder? Or is that a different thing?
No, that's different. I didn't put that in here.
Oh, okay.
Thomas Covenant has issues. The primary one is that he raped someone at the beginning of one of the books, and they keep trying to make him out to be a hero. So I know he's supposed to be an anti-hero and whatnot, but he was a whiner the whole book.
Yeah, you hated that guy, remember?
Yeah.
Hates a strong word. Dislike
a lot of heroic people within the story. But he wasn't Thomas Covenant. No. So Lord of the Rings, obviously. Discworld by Terry Pratchett. Several books by them. What I get from Discworld is the reverence, the comedy side. John Carter of Mars, which was a whole 5 or 6 books. Lots of good stuff in that. The Dresden Files. Call of Cthulhu. Cthulhu-related stuff by H.P. Lovecraft. Oh, Dresden Files, I don't think I mentioned it was by Jim Butcher. The Dragon Riders of Pern was one of my earliest fantasy series that I read.
I remember when you read those.
By Anne McCaffrey. And then Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Mallory, about King Arthur.
Cool. That's your 10, huh?
That's my 10. Now, one thing I have to say, though, is I read a lot of books when I was young.
You did.
And to be honest, a lot of them kind of just ran into each other. And I've probably forgotten more than I can remember as far as all of those books. So I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out.
Right.
A lot of 1970s weird sci-fi stuff.
Did you read a lot of that? I only read a little of it.
Yeah, I started reading a lot of it, but it's hard to get through because it's so weird. Lots of sex too. That didn't
weird sex stuff, just weird. Yeah, and like I read Jack Vance's Dying Earth. That is totally bizarre. I'm sorry, I don't know who digs that.
I haven't got to it yet. You gave me is that his first?
I don't know. That's one of the big
somewhere
ones.
in there.
That was an appendix in the first edition DMG.
Right. I haven't gotten to it yet. There's this
Yeah.
one old 70s sci-fi book that's kind of,
Yep.
I think, indicative of its type, called Mind Bridge. And in it, you have these I don't know what they had a name for them, but essentially they figured out a way to teleport, and they all had to be in a triangular kind of a pyramid formation, and I think they had to be naked.
Oh my God.
Because of the way it worked. It only took organic material. Yeah, your cat's right there.
Not familiar. She climbed on this chair. She's so weird. Hello,
And-
big.
And when they went to a particular planet, they found a little fish. And if you put the fish in between two people, if they were both contacting it, they had telepathy. They could speak to each other's minds. And what they ended up doing with it is
Fish and telepathy.
in between two people when they were having sex.
Why
would you ever want to do
that? That's the logic. Obviously, you do that next. Gosh, that's kind of weird crap I couldn't get my mind around. Man, that was insane. The 70s had some crazy ideas.
Right. And that I think that sequence of events, humanity discovers teleportation. Well, it's kind of like, well, whatever it was, like Star Trek teleportation.
Yeah.
Right. Discovered how to do it.
Yeah.
Went to another planet, found the sex fish, and the rest of it was exploring that. And I couldn't finish it. It was dumb.
Sex fish. And then we're off to the races. Oh my gosh. So you didn't list well, I'll put mine. This is not in order, but I think it's late 70s or maybe 60s. The Elric series. I didn't read some of the more recent ones. Did you read that at all?
I read Elric. Like I said, everything runs together, and I've probably forgotten some. So
Elric was definitely formative for me.
I remember when you read it.
Yeah, it was way into it. I had a D&D campaign, had a lot of inspiration for that. Even my Big Seven Spheres campaign, I used Ariok and Dawn Blast. That's the demon god of chaos and the Lord of Law. And I've even done that in that game we played at Captain Con, the 13th Age Cormon campaign. I had Ariok. So I have those themes often run through there. In fact, I think I had the Red Archer, and you fought the Red Archer in that final battle, and you guys.
Yeah, that was
his butt. And
did we
Sanctuary
Red Archer, or did we? No, we fought the Red Archer and decided
you killed him.
You
killed him.
Yeah,
you didn't fight Elric. Yeah, I had Elric in the wings. If you guys had decided to go toward him, you could have.
That would have been a bad idea.
That would have been a very bad idea because he did have Stormbringer, and he would have been killing people. But anyway, Sanctuary, which is actually a collection of some Thieves World short stories. I really like those, edited by Robert Asprin, and Elric is by Michael Moorcock. The Saga of Old City. Joe loves this. The first Gord the Rogue book by Gary Gygax. I put it on there because for me, it was the first real fantasy novel that I ever read. And I read it because it was D&D, and I felt obligated. And while it wasn't great, as a younger kid, I thought, you know what? It's really cool they're mentioning all these things that I've heard about, like the Cat Lord from Monster Manual 2. So that was pretty cool. The Dresden Files.
All of the Gord books, I think.
Yeah, I read a couple. They weren't great. The Dresden Files series, of course, by Butcher, overlap. Dune, where I can't use the Dune series. Mine is just the first one. I kind of punted when I started reading the second one. I don't know what it was. I probably should try again because I really, really liked the first book a lot. And then for some reason, I just couldn't get into the second one. Legend of the Five Rings, there was a series of books called the Clan series. That was really cool. There was one for each of the clans, the Phoenix, the Lion, and it all tied together at the end. It was a pretty cool book. I think then The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I've not read all of Lord of the Rings. I know it's crazy, but I have read The Hobbit. I've read The Fellowship, and I've read, what's the next one? Fellowship, Two Towers or whatever.
Towers and Return of the King.
I got a little tired of the Two Towers, and part of it is, I saw the movies and,
Tom Bombadil, is that where he appears?
No, I don't know. I made it through Tom Bombadil. That was in the Fellowship, I think. But
Okay.
I can't recall. But Tolkien. Homeland, book 1 of the Dark Elf trilogy by R.A. Salvatore. We gave him a little hard time not too long ago, but I did love that.
That well.
I thought Homeland was cool. The birth of Drizzits and dealing with the his mother and the matriarchy there, and his father Zactophine, who was noble, and it was just but he was kind of a dark warrior. I just kind of really liked it. It was really kind of cool. Heir to the Empire trilogy by Timothy Zahn, I thought was a great series of Star Wars books. It would have made a great movie after the end of Return of the Jedi. Would have been much better than what came out. And then Martian Tales by Edgar Rice Burroughs, of course. So we had a lot of overlap there.
Right.
Did you have any honorable?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You've been listening to what?
I've been listening to a lot of pulp sci-fi from like the 50s.
Yeah.
And it's an acquired taste. It's not it's very different, a very different writing style, but it's fun.
Yeah. Cool. Something you listen to on a podcast or like see how do you hear it on the internet?
Trying to remember the app. I mentioned it before when we had old man Grognard on LibriVox.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of them. Okay, cool. Did you have any honorable mentions? Because I had a few.
The Sword of Truth series of books and Wheel of Time. I have to say, Wheel of Time lost its luster because it had such a large cast, so to speak, very large cast of characters. And several books went by when you didn't hear from the main character at all.
I was told that was true.
And, so the story got really convoluted. There's that. And then Sword of Truth was the same way. It didn't have a big cast of characters as big as Wheel of Time, but something about it got a little kind of repetitious. But I really liked the first 2-3 books.
Yeah.
Wizard's First Rule, excellent. TV series I started watching. Well, I tried to start to watch it. They had some very short fellow playing the main character who was supposed to be very tall and broad. So I was like, I'm done.
Oh, is that already out? Wheel of Time is already out of the TV
Wheel
show?
of Time, Sword of Truth.
Yeah. That was kind of weak. I saw a little bit of that. That was not good.
Started watching and I was like, yeah, no thanks.
Okay. Any others?
No, because I can't remember them all.
Well, I have several, and they're not all because I thought they were great. The first one, Pages of Pain by Troy Denning. It was about the first book about the Lady of Pain. I don't know if you read it.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty weird. But I kind of liked, even though I didn't want them to, I kind of liked how they explained who the Lady of Pain was. That was kind of fascinating. But I don't think that's canon. Some Conan novels by Robert Howard. My favorite, though, were by Robert Jordan. I read a couple by him that I thought were really good. Conan the Destroyer is actually a very good book. Not as great as a movie.
No.
Though Jason Connerly would say it's one of the best D&D movies.
Well,
Jurassic, go ahead.
I think he says it's a good D&D movie because how it puts forward the idea of the party.
Yes, I think that is. I think that's his point, and I think he's right. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. That's where I'd seen the movie first, and I noticed they did a lot of switcheroos. For example, the boy was the older kid, and he was also the one that was a computer expert, though he was the older kid. Then there was I think the lawyer was actually a combination of, he was also a hunter, I believe, in that book. So the lawyer was not the dude, the dude that got ate sitting on the toilet seat in the movie. That wasn't who he was in the book, if I'm remembering correctly. I think he was actually the hunter. Those two characters got split into two. He was actually quite heroic and protected the kids, I believe. Night of the Black Rose by James Lowder. That was a Ravenloft novel that told the story of when Lord Soth goes to Ravenloft and he gets to, I think he encounters Strahd, and they have a little struggle. It's kind of cool to see Strahd have to give a little respect to him because he's a BA Death Knight. Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Yes.
Just because I was kind of proud of myself for reading it because it's kind of weak at times, but it definitely, what I don't like about a lot of vampire movies, I don't know where they got this vampire, some sort of seductor, because he comes off as a monster in that book, if I remember correctly.
A lot of whatever seduction he does, a lot of it's done off screen. So
yeah. And who's the lady that Jonathan Harker's girlfriend that he takes to the tower? She rebuffs him the whole time. She is a bastion of purity in the book. She does not get into him at all. And that's kind of cool. The Deathgate Cycle series by Hickman and Weiss. I actually have enjoyed that more than I did anything in the Dragonlance. There's a character in there called, I think it was Hugh the Hand. He's kind of an assassin type guy, but he's kind of a heart of gold type dude, retired assassin. I don't know, but it's pretty interesting. I didn't get all the way through it. And then the Holy Bible. And that's because I think there's just tons of stories in there that you can steal the themes from for really cool games. I'm not talking about preaching at people. I just mean heroic things, brave things,
oh yeah.
Samson against the lion, David against Goliath, the three brave, or the ones that defy
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the furnace and fiery furnace, and then into the lion's den. I think there's great, bold, heroic tales in there that people sometimes, or even Moses leading the children of Israel across, the desert and being chased by the Egyptians. There's a lot of really cool themes there that you could steal, especially with God's miracles translating to magic and other cool things. Not that you got to do the same thing, but just I think there's a lot of inspiration there. So I had to at least put that honorable mention. I wouldn't put it as the most inspirational for my D&D games, but I do think there's some good stuff there.
Yes.
How do books motivate you?
A lot of different ways. I would say Dune. Let's say Dune.
Yeah.
If I want to play someone that's enigmatic, Paul.
Yep.
Once he really starts coming into his own,
yep,
that's what he becomes, the enigma. Before that, not so much. He's a young kid, but once he kind of comes into his power, early on, he's really withdrawn, and you see how his mind works. Why he maybe doesn't say anything to anybody about what's going on, because half the time, even saying something about what's to come will change what's to come. So he has to be very careful. So that keeps him very tight-lipped. And but an enigmatic character that's also, in his way, very heroic.
Yes,
he's very heroic. I mean, he does the full-on Messiah path.
Right.
Fully Messiah, not just hero. He becomes a Messiah.
Right.
Within the Dune story.
Right.
His son carries the mantle a little farther to become a demigod. But,
right. Is that when he melds the sandworm and becomes something more than human? Okay. Yeah.
Well, he lives for, I think, 5,000 years. And
wow.
Doesn't show any sign of stopping. And he's like, spoilers. Like, let me see. This isn't going well. All right, I'll figure some way out to end it and make it better for everyone. Which,
wow.
Better for everyone is just slightly less worse than what it's been. It's kind of, Dune's not necessarily a rainbows and puppy dogs type of story.
No.
But yeah, hero, enigmatic, strong-willed. So good characterizations I get for playing my characters.
Right. I guess I think about characters too, but usually being a DM, I don't think about the characters that I would play, but I do think about cool characters that I would love to portray as NPCs. Like, for example, in Legend of the Five Rings, the clan series, I think it's the last book called Scorpion, where you find, because the Scorpion clan, of all the clans, it's the shady one. It has the ninjas, and it has several clans have ninjas, but it has ninjas, and they do some dirty work. And what you find out, one thing very interesting is a ninja, is it in this clan? No, it's a different clan book. Oh, it comes out at the end because there's a whole emperor dies and they got to replace the emperor, and that's where all the fighting starts. And the scorpion ends up doing something that's pretty shady, but they do it to save the empire. In the end, you find out they did it to save the empire. And there's kind of a theme where I'd like to see a character who you kind of know is bad, but you can't really touch him until the end. And I would like to be able to portray, and I don't think I do this very well, I'd like to be able to portray a somewhat sympathetic villain, even one that you might be like, well, I kind of respect that, but I'm still going to have to kill you because what you did was heinous. That's okay. But I hate when you have a villain that you want to last a long time. And I say this from the DM's perspective, and I don't play him right so that no one realizes who he is, or I play him too strong and the adventurers are after him immediately. Right? They're like, oh, you're a bad guy, and I don't just want to surprise and say, ooh, look, surprise, you're screwed by a friend. I just mean, I don't really like that governor. He's not very nice. Well, let's go do this thing for the kingdom. They need help. Okay. What do you mean the governor just got richer for that? How did that happen? Well, you open these roads for him and now he can do this. Man, he's a real jerk. He puts a lot of pressure on his workers. He treats them almost like slaves. But I like that to happen and things go on. And then you find out at the end, the governor's plan maybe was to build up trade for an empire that was stifling, and they had to open up the roads. They had to deal with the beasts that were out there, the necromancer that was stopping them from advancing. And he had to do some underhanded things, maybe get a ruler in one land killed so that they could make trades because the other guy wouldn't make trades with them. And while that's underhanded and dirty and doesn't excuse him, you're at least and he's like, I love kind of like the one that Littlefinger tried to claim he was in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
that he secretly,
So you're saying you've got a governor that's ruthless.
Yes.
But ruthless to benefit
society in general.
Think of as the greater good.
That's what, yeah. And to portray it in such a way that the players don't figure it out till the end. Right. Just because I think in that Clan series books, I didn't figure it out till the end. I didn't know what the deal was. And they lay it out as there's some kind of an honor thing. I can't recall. It's been too long. I just know I like that part of it. I think also the Elric series is always intriguing to me because it's more of a battle of law versus chaos. And that's kind of a theme that I always want to play out a lot in my game. I have played out a lot in my games, not just good versus evil. But sometimes that can be tough because chaos tends to be evil in a lot of people's minds, and law tends to be kind of good.
Well, right. So order. Well,
order versus chaos.
Right.
Order versus entropy, whatever you want to call it.
That's the word that was coming to my mind. Entropy.
Yeah. And so sometimes when I read books, I get, oh, that's awesome. But I'm like, I'm inspired to do it. But like, how do I do it?
Right.
Because games aren't books, right?
Right. I would prefer it be entropy because order is fine, but both order can be fine until you push it too far, and then you're authoritarian.
Yep.
Or a totalitarian.
Right.
There's such a thing as too much order.
Absolutely.
And then you can have, so some people want to say chaos, but other people want to say freedom.
Yep.
There's a line that where you get to too much law, or there's the blind obedience to law.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's folks who like freedom. They don't necessarily want chaos.
Right.
Order is still fine. It's just where the order comes from. So
right.
Entropy, though, entropy isn't necessarily chaos. Entropy is loss of energy, right? Essentially, the gradual decay to nothingness is entropy, right?
I believe so. Lack of order or predictability, gradual decline into disorder.
Oh, okay, just decline into disorder. Well,
yeah.
Disorder eventually becomes nothing.
Right.
I believe.
Well, it can. I mean, it can.
Right.
So, yeah. So you're saying you prefer entropy to order?
Well, the way that's read, entropy and chaos are synonyms. So.
Well, freedom tends to go with chaos. And with people tend to lean because there's freedom. That's probably the good side of chaos or entropy. And then
You
with
have too much
order,
freedom too.
you can. If you have lawlessness completely,
Yes.
then the strong rule the weak, guaranteed in every situation.
Well, that's order. That's a kind of order. The strong
Yeah.
rule the weak. That's a kind of order. That's not chaos.
No, it's
There's
not.
no order. So
Yeah.
I don't know how.
So hold on then. So
I
we have too much freedom. What is too much freedom then? That's interesting. We're getting too philosophical here.
No, that's fine.
I don't know what too much freedom would be.
That's more of a libertine type of outlook where do whatever you want. where pedophilia could even be acceptable.
Correct, which is I'm not so cool with that.
Right. Or
so I want some law and some order, definitely.
Yeah, some law. So libertine means anything goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want your rules. Any rule that you can make up, I can say you're oppressing me, essentially.
Right.
Where freedom simply means I get to make up my own rules and I get to associate with folks of like mind.
Characterized by disregard of morality, especially in sexual matters, free thinking in matters of religion, a person, especially a man who behaves without moral principles or a sense of responsibility.
Right.
Yeah. See, I don't think I want that either.
No.
That libertine is not my favorite. So, yeah, that's interesting. But anyway, so back to the books and stuff. So, do you think? So they definitely motivate me when I read a book.
Oh, sure.
It'd be fun to play some science fiction like Dune, or play some fantasy like Elric, or some modern magic stuff like Dresden. I think
some of the stuff that motivates me of late is more Conan, or I know I've mentioned it a few times. Conan,
John Carter
type of environment, type of game world, or it wouldn't be precisely John Carter.
No,
because I don't know if you'd want every person playing a human to be able to jump around and stuff like that. So I don't know how far you would take it.
Right.
How that would work exactly, but that sort of wide wilderness, strange monsters, not the typical stuff, where the DM can do just about anything. And
sounds like we should have kickstarted Hyperborea 3E.
Should have. I wonder if you can get on it in what's the thing you can do after Kickstarter? There's a thing.
Yeah, well, I know Pinnacle has it. Oh, by the way, Pinnacle is going to be doing their Superpowers Companion in there. They're going to have an in-house Kickstarter type thing, crowdfunding thing.
I honestly, if we were going to do something, we were wanting to kickstart something, I think we would do it in-house too. I don't want to give anybody else my money.
No, because then we'd make $2. We got 5 people that might buy it, or 6.
Well, Kickstarter has wonky rules. Just talk to Tenkar about it. Tenkar has very little opinion of Kickstarter.
Yeah, he does.
Backer kit. Yeah.
I
wonder if you can get on board on Backer Kit.
I don't know. I should probably look. But that sounds, for me, I don't know. I think I love that idea too for a game, but also I'm just missing I kind of want some classic just D&D stuff.
I think a good satisfying long D&D campaign interspersed with some crazy. I'm even reading riffs a lot.
Yeah.
So I've got 9th printing, but they have an Ultimate Edition, and there are some differences.
Okay.
Not major, just some organization differences, but still organized crazy.
Mm-hmm.
To put together a character, you have to go through very different, all kinds of sections, and the character creation part doesn't come until almost page 200, which is annoying, but whatever. But yeah, the riffs.
I play riffs. I do Savage Worlds riffs, 100%.
But I so like that setting.
Yeah, setting is really cool.
But I think I don't like the rules because they're hard to pinpoint, because there's not hard. It's just a little.
It's annoying.
You have to go to 10 different sections in a book to make your character.
Yeah. Do you think you ought to try to mimic? I think you can steal plots from books.
Yeah, I wouldn't take one whole cloth because
no,
The annoying parts about, let's say, a Dune RPG
Mhm.
is that the events in Dune may still have happened in that RPG, and you are
Right.
somewhere within that timeline, either before, somewhere in the middle, sometime after. And to me, Paul Atreides ascending to power is the story.
Right.
And then the Atreides family after that carrying the genetic superiority is probably a problematic word to some people, but there was something about the Atreides gene pool
Yes, there was.
where they were special.
Yeah.
And so a lot of subsequent stories were about after Dune and after Children of Dune, even after God Emperor of Dune, there were 2 or 3 books that Herbert wrote that involved descendants of Paul, and they all had something special about them. And if you're not playing in that, yawn. I know you could probably come up with some, maybe come up with some interesting stuff. But I don't know. I think
see, it's kind of my problem I have with Star Wars some.
Right.
But I think Star Wars, you know what it is? I think Dune being, well, Dune's not, it's not purely sci-fi. I mean, doesn't it have some
fantasy? It's more fantasy than sci-fi.
It's more fantasy with the magical powers of the.
It's like Star Wars in that, because you have the Mentats and the Bene Gesserit, who are, I mean, they pull it off as scientific because it's breeding and mental abilities.
But it's magical.
Kind of is. It's spirit. There's some spirituality to it. There's some weirdness, but it's 70s too. So I think it's more like Star Wars in that magical part than not. So,
but you can still overarching plots, like everybody's stolen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
you must destroy the evil artifact. That's stealing.
Right. So you can.
It's the Ring of Power.
Yeah.
You could do. We're going to battle we got to save the world from chaos and destruction, like we did at the Corman thing. That's the Elric series. And you can do we are powerful magical creatures that live in modern Detroit, and we have to keep the things that go bumping in the night at bay.
Right.
That's the Dresden Files. Make sure things work out right.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that, and there's a Dresden Files RPG. But I think there's a danger in some. Well, there's not a danger. There's some books that I can't imagine running games in those worlds. I think I can Star Wars. Dune sounds hard though.
I think what you would do is you would reskin it in that you might still have the elements. You would have something like a Mentat, Bene Gesserit. You might, there's a lot of words in there that are hard to pronounce, like Talialaxu.
The
machine.
I know there's a whole. That's the first book series you ever read that you told me had I mean, it was the first I'd ever remember hearing about. I'm sure it wasn't the first. That had a full-on dictionary in the back.
Right.
To define words. And I was like, whoa.
Stuff. The navigators. Got all kinds of different, and then there's the different sorts of humans. You have your the folks on Dune. Can't believe I can't remember their names.
Fremen.
The Fremen. So you have the Fremen. You have you could easily have Fremen. You could have the Emperor's Sardaukar
warriors.
They're different.
Yeah,
you can have all that stuff.
Yeah,
but have it not be about the events on Dune.
Yeah, or somebody becoming the God Emperor.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't have the God Emperor because Paul was a Mentat Bene Gesserit.
Right.
So kind of like a Dragon High Lord, but you got so many powers there. Plus,
the dragon from Athos, who was a scion and a wizard and also a dragon. Yeah. Well, do you think this is something? Do you think how valuable are books for research, especially in RPG genres and settings that are new to you as a GM or player?
New, correct. Yeah. So
if I'm new to Call of Cthulhu, would it, if I want to play Call, so let's say Andy, and I've been waiting on it. He's going to call me, and we're going to meet somewhere. We're going to play Call of Cthulhu. And I'm excited, and I know poop about Call of Cthulhu. Should I run out and find the short story and read it?
Okay. I think with Call of Cthulhu, you're better served reading than watching. Yes. I mean, you've watched a few Cthulhu stories, I'm sure.
I've read the Call of Cthulhu actually.
Okay. Story. But you've watched the Reanimator.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
There might be one or two other ones. There's not
I'm sure
hardly anything to recommend because
it's
poop. But at least Reanimator's kind of fun. Anyway, I think you're better served reading the novels.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah.
Because if you read too much of it, the game might not be as scary, maybe.
Or what if I'm going to Joe says he's going to run Conan, the Conan 2D20 game. I mean, I think there's value to reading, and probably as a DM though, if I'm like, I'm going to run Dune, and I'm like, I've read Dune once in one book.
Watch the movie.
Right. Don't read the books.
Because we'll be waiting for you for 6 months to finish Dune.
Series, right. So
I mean, I wouldn't take that long, but somebody new might take a long time.
Yeah, and someone else might be able to do this faster, but that's kind of tough. I think books are okay to reference from if you've read them, then you got the feel. That's good, but I wouldn't do it as an assignment in preparation for a setting. If you guys want to play into a game, if you guys actually want to get to the game anytime soon, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's kind of a time investment. If it was a Conan book,
they're pretty fast.
Yeah, they're thin, so that might work out.
Yeah. How much reading do you get now?
Most of my reading is listening. So I'll listen to audiobooks more than I will sit down and read.
Yeah, I've quote unquote read by listening the first 2 Dresden novels. I want to get through the whole series. I wanted to read the whole series before I got the 2 new books. Now I have the 2 new books, and I'm probably just going to read them. I've read the first chapter of Peace Talks, and I really want to jump into it, but I haven't taken the time to do it. I find the older I get, the harder it is for me to get to read, to sit down and read novels.
Time. I read both of those as soon as I got them.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's listening, and I'm actually in the middle of what's it called? Fantastic Journey, I believe. It's a I think it was turn of the century novel back in the 1800s to the 1900s. Story about folks who get shipwrecked on this it's Fantastic Island. Fantastic Island.
Not Fantasy Island.
No, Fantastic Island. Not Fantasy Island. No.
Is it a pulp story?
I don't know if it's pulp.
Okay.
It's hard. Right. And there's the other thing about those old 70s stories is they were written as serials. So they were serialized in magazines. So you would get a chapter or 2 in a magazine. And the writing for that is different from writing a novel.
Yes.
So there's a different feel. So it might be that these were, and that's why they can kind of feels weird. It's a different format, and the characters are kind of one-dimensional. But it's an interesting read.
Oh, okay.
More from this is how novels were then compared to the way they are when I was young and the way novels are today.
I think you mentioned, some of our friends would call in and let us know what kind of books they rank highly. They ain't got to give us their top 10 or they can if they want to, but they give a couple books they think are really highly inspirational. What else do you think books bring to the table as far as RPGs go? What can they do with this? Have we covered everything?
Let's see. What else do they bring? I think if you've read a lot of fantasy, you may be more, your mind might be more attuned to how fantasy, especially fantasy, science fiction, or just plain old medieval type fantasy stories are structured.
Yeah.
So you may understand how in a medieval fantasy novel, it's generally a hero's journey.
Yes.
Not always, but
Right.
generally. So, and then there's archetypes, and the novels are written as archetypes, which people have a hard time understanding these days.
Yep.
They're not representations,
Right.
current peoples,
Right.
archetypes of ideal people.
Yep.
Constructed over thousands of years.
Right.
So Gandalf wasn't just pulled out of
Tolkien's head.
or posterior.
Right.
Neither were the elves. All
Nope.
of those things he took from myth and legend.
Yep.
Whose roots go way back.
Yep.
And that's where fantasy novels, the good ones. There's probably lots of trash fantasy novels, especially stupid fan fiction novels.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Where they have an agenda.
Yeah.
But they are stories that have archetypes, and those archetypes often have purposes. And then once you've read enough of good fantasy novels, you can kind of get a handle on that, and it helps you, I think, pick where you're going to be at in the story, instead of trying to just dream up from the vapors of your mind some brand new thing, or try to, at least, which is where we get turtles from.
Come on, you don't like the turtles?
I think they're dumb.
I don't disagree. I mean, turtles are dumb.
They're dumb.
Turtle people. Whatever. All right. I think that's all I've got to say about books. We ready to move on to like it, leave it, or love it?
Yes. Who
All
goes
right.
first here? Any ideas?
No. Why don't I go first? I'll hit you with mine. Okay. I like the one word things. What do you think about like it, love it, or leave it? Cars.
I like cars. They get you from A to B.
Okay. Utility.
Yeah. Some cars I love, and
Yeah.
then cars I've loved have changed over time.
Oh, okay.
I used to love not Lamborghinis. What was
Magnums.
Tom Selleck's car?
Whose?
Tom Selleck's car in
Magnum.
was that a Lambo?
Ferrari. Wasn't it a Ferrari?
Might have been a Ferrari.
I don't remember.
Whatever that car was, I wanted
You
it.
like it. Yeah. I always love Trans Ams.
Then when the governor got his Hummer,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I like that. Then it's just kind of flip-flopped
Right.
over time.
Yeah. Okay, now I know we've talked about certain things. We've never asked this one though. You don't think we have, but we haven't. It's going to be relevant tonight too. Comic books.
I like them. Not enough to collect them.
Right.
But I like them.
Yeah.
Favorite is Doctor Strange and Spider-Man.
Gotcha. All right. Mathematics.
Essential. I love mathematics.
Good answer.
I don't like 0.9 repeating.
You just don't like that it equals 1. That's what bothers you. Yeah, fair enough. All right. What you got for me, homie? That's 3.
Your favorite fish?
Favorite fish.
You're not a big fish guy though, are you?
Oh, actually, there you're wrong.
Oh,
I
okay.
like all ocean-going food.
That's true. That's true.
I like all seafood. Favorite?
Fish.
Not shellfish count?
Not shellfish or anything like that. Just regular fish.
Fishy fish? Gotta be salmon. Salmon or tuna? Probably a tuna steak. Slight tuna over salmon. I know salmon's your favorite.
Yes, you're high. Anyway, do you prefer paper books or e-books?
Paper or e?
Oh, okay. That's not like it, love it, or leave it, really.
That's okay. We're just people get to know us a little bit. It's all right.
Yeah.
Like it. I love paper books. I love holding them. The older I get, the more I read on my iPad.
Right. It's more
Convenient. Ebooks are convenient.
Yeah.
I've got the Dresden novels in hardback sitting on my nightstand, and I still grab my iPad most of the time. And I need to read.
Yeah. In a similar vein, mechanical or wood pencils.
Oh, wood pencils. Mechanical, no way.
Yeah, I flip-flopped on that. I have a ton of mechanical pencils, so I'm going to use them until they all break, which is going to be probably in a day or two.
I was going to say, I break when I teach, and I used to break chalk, dude, on the chalkboard. I wrote so hard, and the dry erase markers, I would push so hard and flatten them.
It's so hard to use pencils, mechanical pencils.
Yeah.
So annoying when you just start writing, but and break. And
invariably, a student will go to my desk, hey, Mr. Nichols, need you to sign something. And they'll hand me a mechanical pencil for something.
mm-hmm.
And as soon as I'll take it, not thinking, then I'll go snap and I'll hold on. I'll grab my I can't, I'll break it. You'll lose all your graphite or whatever you got in there if you let me keep writing on this. But yeah, 100% wooden pencils are the best. That's what I use in preparation. Notice wooden pencils. I have bunches of them. That's how I roll.
You've heard it here. Randy likes wood.
Yes. All right. Dig this setting.
Eberron.
Yeah, baby.
All right. So I tried to get some time today, try to locate some stuff on Eberron so I could remind myself, because it's been a long time.
Yeah. Have you played in it? I don't remember if you were around when Eberron came out.
Not a whole lot.
2002. Were you in the neighborhood? 2003, 2004, were you here?
No, I was in DC. No. You're wrong. I'm wrong. No, I'm right.
Okay.
2002, I was in DC. I had a couple of years to go before I moved out here.
Okay. Yeah. So
I will go. Let me go first because
go. Sorry.
Mine is the smallest amount of information.
Oh,
what I remember of Eberron was power creep.
Oh, okay.
I remember shifters.
Yes.
Being a big thing.
Shifter Druid was tough.
Yeah. I also remember the whole Magicus technology thing, which I didn't really care for, because if you used magic as is, instead of kind of transforming it into that electric train thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had like continual light was a permanent spell then. I don't think it is in 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
And Eberron came out with that's in 2nd or 3rd. Was that 3rd edition when it came out?
Yeah, I think it was actually closer to 3.5, but yeah.
Right. So continual light was still permanent, I believe. So within the implied setting of D&D, without even needing Eberron, you could see any village that might have a wizard or cleric, if they had that. I can't remember if they did or not.
Probably.
Of a couple of levels, because it was only a 2nd level spell, I think.
Right. So 3rd level cleric, 3rd level wizard. Yeah.
They could have permanent light, magical light.
Yep.
Eventually everywhere at no cost.
Right.
So you could see how certain spells could really transform what would be a medieval land into something more akin to modern day. There's a few spells that could do that, but light itself would be big, very big.
Yeah.
It doesn't provide energy or heat of any kind, but you could stay up for longer, do more reading. I know they used candles, so there's kind of a mythy kind of thing where everybody went to bed when the sun went down. In medieval old times, there's kind of it's kind of a myth. People used candles and other ways to light up, but nothing like a continual light spell.
Oh no. Yeah. That would, and not only that, wouldn't it be great for the guards? If you live in a town that's periodically raided by orcs or by some other, hideous beasts, and if they're even remotely afraid of light, you could have continual light, posts all over the town, just light them up.
As in a ring.
Yeah.
You could have different things where, like, you could have just some colored, even made of wax or something, or paper, colored paper. And like we have with flashlights, where you can replace the little lens.
Yeah.
Do different things, red, whatever, just have signals, light signals.
Well, let's talk about leopard. So Eberron was the winner. Is it okay if I go with this, or you got more?
Yeah, what I'm saying though is, I think Eberron took it a little farther than I cared for. And it kind of just went together with the whole, I believe it was a power creep.
Yeah. I would say it was definitely kitchen sink. And when it came out, I was excited I was excited to read it. It was the winner of the Wizards of the Coast fantasy setting search in 2002. There were a total of 3 finalists, and it was picked. The other 2 Wizards got to keep. They have them somewhere hidden secretly in some vault. They've never published them, and they actually bought them from the people, so no one can publish the other 2. That is weird. But when it came out, first of all, I think it's a pretty cool looking book. For those that are on the twos of you, love the little Warforged picture there. I thought it was pretty cool.
It was well made.
Huh?
It was well made.
It was well made. It's Wizard of the Coast. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was on this continent of this world with like 4 continents. Zendrick was a jungle island, but the main one was Corvair, and it followed a massive war about 100 years in the past called the Last War. And after that war, there were like 12. I think there were 12 little nations that developed in Corvair, and there was these families that dealt with, as Joe alluded to, the magic technology was a big key. They had lightning trains. They had all sorts of ways they used magic. I forget the name of the dudes, but they were like magic adepts that kind of kept the world or Corvair anyway, in little magic technologies like brooms that sweep themselves. They had these little mage smiths or something that could make little magic items. And sometimes it was kind of amazing when you think about the lightning train. They had bound lightning elementals inside this train to make it move on this little pole across the continent. And it definitely gives it a real pulp feel in terms of like travel across the land, see unique creatures and kill them and take their stuff. And so, but anyway, I think it had some excitement to it, and I was really intrigued by it. They introduced several races. There was the Kalashtar was the new one, and they were a race of kind of humans that were infused by the spirits called Kiori from another plane, some kind of dream plane. They weren't allowed to go back, and they were kind of psionic focused. So they suggested off the bat that you use the 3.5 expanded psionics handbook with it. So I know it's 3.5. That's what they said. I just read that. And they had the shifters, which were kind of a crossbreed between lycanthropes, true lycanthropes, and people. They had the changelings, which were a doppelganger crossbreed, and a big crossbreed run. They had, what else did they have? Well, the Warforged. Now, these were initially war machines, people, humanoid shapes, warriors that were created to fight this last war against this undead army of some, I don't know, it was a Lich King or who it was. But anyway, I think Karnathi was the country, and they were necromancers. And anyway, these Warforged were just machine men, and they actually were made so well they gained sentience. They were kind of partially made out of flesh, partially made out of wood and mechanical devices, and they became a playable race, which right off the bat, talking about power creep, that seemed busted. Because those dudes were like immune to 1,001 things. In fact, let me open the book right here. And they were immune to a bunch of stuff. Let's see here, Warforged. I can't find it. What were they immune to? Immune to poison, sleep effects, paralysis, disease, nausea, fatigue, exhaustion, effects that cause the sickened condition, and energy drain. No level loss for these dudes. But there was kind of a mitigating factor.
Healing.
Sort of. They said they got the healing. They only got half healing, many healing spells, but they had a class called the Artificer that could do, what was it?
Full healing to them?
Repair light damage instead of cure light wounds and give them a full healing. So any Warforged worth his salt would want to have an Artificer on board or be an Artificer.
Right. Could you make a potion out of that?
You sure could, I think so.
Or
Infusion.
Or a wand?
Probably so, yes. They were called infusions. It's been a while since I tried to play it. I started a campaign, and honestly, I half-hearted. It was after, I think it was after or before Seven Spheres, and I was just half-hearted into it. But to be fair, I'm kind of intrigued by it. It's not something I'm jonesing to play because, like you said, I'm more for classic D&D. But this really takes you down a path that's pretty different. You got, the idea of magic is what Joe's saying. Magic literally replaces technology. They didn't do any technological advances. They did magical advances, and magic ends up working kind of like, technology does. And so there's some parts that are cool. They had these dragon marked houses that got special little tattoos that gave them cool powers. And there's some interesting little twists, like the drow in this world were jungle dwelling elves and stuff. So I don't know. That just seemed like a flavor mix that didn't.
Jungle elves. That was never a thing before that, was it?
Careful if elves are black people. If black elves are black people, that's really bad, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to say you're in Africa or whatever. I don't think I'm going to do. So anyway, but the point was, I think it was kind of it definitely had to me, some really non-traditional, had sky ships, mechanical beings. It seems like they were kind of advanced socially, and they had a lot more. It felt like to me they were a little bit above medieval. I would not call this.
Definitely not.
Yeah, not medieval. And I don't know. I think I could give it a whirl. I could try it sometime. They have a 5e version of it as well. I don't think I would purchase that because I'm just not inclined to do that.
Yeah,
but
probably so.
I thought the setting was pretty neat. It's by who's the guy? Keith Baker was the one that got this, and I think overall, I think it was a neat twist. But when it first came out, I was not a fan of it. I mean, it was just kind of kitchen sinky. Oh yeah, I know. I wanted to talk about. There was a list in the Tome of Eberron. They say 10 things you need to know. If it exists in D&D, then it's an Eberron. That's the first one.
Right.
Tone and attitude. Medieval fantasy with swashbuckling action and dark adventure.
What was that one you said about attitude?
Oh, tone and attitude the attitude of Eberron is its swashbuckling action and dark adventure.
Right.
A world of intrigue, dragon marked dynasties, new races, a world of adventure, steaming jungles of Arenal to the colossal ruins of Zendrick, from the towering keeps of Sharn to the blasted hills and valleys of the Demon Waste. Is a world of action and adventure, and a world of magic. Yeah, I mean, they had all these things. Let's read a few of them, a bunch of races. So I think for new toys, for a lot of people for newer players today, this has a kind of, if you're into like, I want lots of races, lots of classes, I mean, which kind of fits a lot of players want that. And this is kind of perfect for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about that plethora of races thing today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand that people want to do lots of different things.
Because it's fantasy. I get it.
Fantasy. I want to play a human with a horse head. Or whatever. Because that's most of these races boil down to they're people that don't look precisely like people.
What about turtles? They're
Turtles.
completely unique. They're slow people that can be monks.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty weird.
It's very, I understand that people want to do that.
Right.
But to me, the various races, it's a fantasy, it's a game, do what you want to do. But they're not differentiated enough to me that I can play a turtle, let's say, and play him in a way that's different from a human or dwarf or an elf. I could be I could play equally the same personality, completely the same personality, have all the same quirks among all the different races. There's nothing that you could pick out about a turtle from how they're presented, or I don't know about turtles specifically because I haven't read the race entry.
That's not an Eberron, by the way.
In the 5e Eberron?
I don't think turtles are in there. Are they?
If it's 5e, they have the same kind of blurb. If it's in D&D, it's on Eberron. So
oh, there you go. Yeah.
So if that's in there and turtles are in D&D, then they're in Eberron. I know they're in freaking Mystara.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's just my hang up. I think the races should be not just a list of powers. It's fine for them to be different statistically, because they should be, because a halfling cannot freaking be as strong as a human. No way. Or a dwarf.
Gotcha. Now,
or probably even an elf can be stronger. I mean, the strongest halfling is not very strong.
no.
So
Now, yeah.
there are going to be statistical differences, and to differentiate them a little bit more, you could give them racial abilities. That's fine. But if they don't have any kind of, if there's nothing else that's different for them, they're kind of just a pile of statistics. Kind of boring.
I agree. I don't know how we as humans can play anything else but human-like classes, meaning human-like races. It's hard to envision something like take the Thri-kreen from Dark Sun. That's an insectoid, praying mantis type man with 4 arms from second edition. I don't know. How do they think? How would an insectoid think? And they can describe it all they want, but it's kind of hard for me to see that played out. I guess people can take their interpretation and go with it and do some weird stuff.
What about saurians?
Yeah, dinosaur people.
Saurians can't speak.
Yes, they speak in terms of smell. They have smells that come off, pheromones. And so it smells roses. He must be happy. Oh, it smells like farts. He must be mad.
They can communicate with each other in complex ways.
Yes, but not with people.
No, with people. And
you can't learn to stink like a saurian, to smell like a saurian. Okay.
Apart from that, they speak in pheromones. They still all talk about the same stuff humans do.
Of course they do, because we can't imagine an alien. Would elves be truly alien? I feel like they probably would be.
And, I don't know how much work it would be worth it to make them different enough to get a player enough clues to play them somewhat different from a human. I don't know. How can we invent a way of being that is not human when all we have is a human brain? So maybe it's just me thinking around in circles.
Maybe it probably is. You tend to do that. Anyway,
imagine that. I'm overthinking something.
Not on Biggest Geekus. Hey, clerics are interesting. It says clerics across Eberron. Some clerics are champions and defenders of the faith. Other clerics across Eberron serve no church and claim no allegiance to any deity. They recognize the power of the deities, but not their authority over mortal life. They hold principles of alignments or other abstract ideals higher than the deities who claim these ideals in their portfolios. They draw divine power from the pervasive spiritual force in the world instead of channeling it through deities. These clerics are usually outcasts and loners. Most clerics are members of churches. They have orders like the Church of the Silver Flame, the Sovereign Host, the Dark Six, the Blood of Vol, the Cults of the Dragon Below, the Path of Light. So basically what that allows for, and I did like this part.
Is that an alternate way of doing a cleric? Or they have standard clerics there too?
You have standard clerics who worship gods, more like follow churches.
Yeah.
And you have ones that step outside of the church hierarchy and they worship just, ideals, kind of like the old ideal, the way it was. But they kind of worship like the idea of order or the idea of chaos, not a particular god, or the idea of, kindness.
Philosophical.
Yeah. And it's fascinating that clerics in this campaign can cast any type of spell, good or evil. Though casting an evil spell moves you, if you do it multiple times, moves you toward that alignment. My point being, I find it fascinating. And I think they say this explicitly. I remember reading this way back in the day. This is 2002. So, 19 years ago, 2004, I think. So when was it published? He won it in 2002, but it was published probably in 2004. I cannot remember.
Published in 2004. That's when I moved to Michigan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
3.5 revision of the rules. And I'm trying to find it. It's not where I can see. Anyway, but when I read it, I love the idea. Here's a theme I like, and I've always wanted to pull off. An evil cleric within a good religion.
Mm-hmm.
I always love the idea, because that would be a great foil.
Opposer.
A poser who still has power. Because in D&D, that's hard to pull off because, dude, you can't cast Cure Light Wounds. You're not a cleric.
Right.
Yeah, I am a cleric and I have all the trappings of Odin, but I actually follow Loki.
Right.
You know, and so I have all these powers. I guess you still could though, but in a world where the deities are very heavy-handed, that would probably be a dangerous proposition.
Yeah. So the
But
way
in this,
the game
yeah,
works presents obstacles to certain types of stories. The way
yeah,
that D&D normally works
yeah.
outside of
But I,
Eberron. With
but
Eberron, it's more fluid.
I think I like the idea of even in the game we played recently, the Savage Worlds, on which we hopefully will get back to, or not, maybe we'll play D&D, who knows. But I like the idea of people not knowing the gods being distant, not being, they grant powers to clerics, or maybe clerics study spells the same way and their faith allows them to channel energy to it. But maybe if you make it such to where, they have prayer books like wizards have spell books, maybe it wouldn't be as awe-inspiring to the common man.
Maybe.
And then you could have that kind of tricky, maybe good, maybe evil priest.
Well, the thing is, that's never going to be the PC.
No.
That's going to be the NPC.
Correct.
Which you can have whatever rules you like.
That's true.
So unless you want to run an evil campaign and try to have an evil PC take over a good church and remain incognito, and you do something special for them, which I don't know, you might not want to do that. But as far as an NPC, you could easily say that their god has done something, or they have found something that allows them to be able to pose, even in a limited fashion, as a member of a good aligned church.
Yeah.
At least for a short time. They might have to move around and whatnot. It might be a progression. You might start out the campaign where the guy's kind of low level. And then if they live, depending on how your campaign goes, you could have it to where maybe even the PCs help them find something that makes him, powerful enough to pose as a, real high up in the order.
Right. Or even, the idea of what if it was such that spells, cleric miracles were such that it was just, it couldn't just be some ritual you do and gets the effect, or anybody could do it. So it's got to be something more. I guess I like the idea of it being belief, and maybe they could just couch themselves enough to pretend to be. I think there's been adventures where there's been an evil cleric, a good cleric who is actually evil. By adventures, I mean modules. Right. I think that's been the case.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a matter of appearances. Mm-hmm. And if you're an evil cleric, you can cast Cure Light Wounds.
Yeah, you can.
And you could heal the sick.
Right.
You could do it, especially if your overall plan is to screw people.
Right.
Right.
All right. So as far as ranking Eberron, I would say for me at the moment, I would say medium. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I could probably be convinced of higher. I wouldn't mind playing it. If I liked it more, I might play it.
Believe it or not, mine's medium as well. I don't know if I could do a long-term campaign, but I could probably run a short one and try it. I think I would give it a better effort than I did last time. I'm not sure what I would, how it would be. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's medium for me. I think it's got a lot of cool things, almost too many things kind of going on. Everything's involved, kitchen sink, everything goes, but it does got the magic tech thing kind of doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but it's that would strike me. That would definitely, the magic tech stuff would be kind of a short campaign. It wouldn't be something I want to run from levels 1 to 20. I don't think I could do that.
I think you could have an interesting campaign where you either get hired to do it, stop it, or fix it. Someone says, probably a druid says, hey, there's living beings trapped inside this. They are elementals.
Free them.
Either he's figured out a way to free them, and he's hired you to free them. He's trying to free them, and you're trying to stop him from freeing them, or he's freed them and now you're trying to fix it, or whatever. I think that would be a cool story.
Eco-terrorists,
Right.
D&D style. Yeah.
Right. It depends on how much how far you want to take it. He could be an eco-terrorist where he's kind of like Mr. Glass and he lets them free in the middle of a trip and people die. Or he sets them free and nobody gets hurt. So he's not necessarily a terrorist so much as just concerned citizen or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a cool thing to do.
Yeah. I like the idea of maybe I always like this, running a campaign in Sigil and then doing an adventure in Eberron by going to a portal and landing there, a group of adventurers, and you get to explore Sigil explore Eberron as not being from Eberron. That could be interesting. And you can see include some of the cool elements like an airship and the massive towers of the city of Sharn and deal with some of the dragon marked folk and stuff. That could be a cool intrigue type story. That would fit perfectly in Eberron and Sigil. So
or you could be visiting Eberron, the trains go down and you get blamed.
That would be even better.
The new people, get them.
New people. Yeah. All right, cool. So folks will probably want to stick around for the negative plane. It may be long, it may not be. I got a lot written down, but I may not save a bit of it. So I do want to answer Jason Richter's request for me to watch.
We're critiquing his critique of our critique.
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
So if you'd like to support our show, please help us get the word out by telling your friends and your enemies and your enemies, those who are unconcerned either way.
Right. They still need to listen.
Yeah.
And the contest is next week, so get that email in and certified, Wormy.
Yes, definitely. And check out our website at biggestgeekestpodcast.com to let's see. I don't have it just up, so it's going to be clumsy.
It's got a slightly newer article on there that I did I did a review of Angkor, Kingdom of the Gods by Chris Miller, I believe is his name.
Yes.
So that's up to read. Check that out.
So go to biggestgeekestpodcast.com/contest entry. And
yes,
we'll get you to where you can put your email in a web page and hit a button, and then make sure you go to your email and confirm your email so you can be properly entered into the contest.
Yes, you can't just roll a 20 and get a crit.
What are those prizes again?
The prizes are, baby. So you're going to get either the advanced edition, a companion for Labyrinth Lord, or Waterdeep Dragon Heist 5e. Labyrinth Lord is kind of a 1e clone. Or Feng Shui 2 by Robin Laws. Action movie role playing. So, yeah, one of those three and a special secret prize. So, anyway.
Special secret prize. An autographed framed picture of Randy.
Yes.
Oh, that's not a secret.
No.
No longer a secret.
No longer the secret. Dang it.
Yeah. All right. Check us out on Odyssey and YouTube. Links will be in the show notes. I'll try to put a link. I need to put a link for the contest there as well. Yep. I probably haven't put one there, and I am a douchebag for doing that.
He has been ill. Forgive Joseph.
There. It's there now. Anyway, our email is thegeeks@biggestgeekestpodcast.com. Feel free to send any questions or comments to us that you would like to send, even if they are not very nice.
Yes, that's okay.
We would like to also encourage you to check out some podcasts and other things we like, and we'll have some links in the show notes showing you what they are.
Right on, brother.
Anything else you want to say before we head out to negative material?
No, sir.
All righty then. This is Joe.
I'm Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us. All right, negative material.
Yeah. All right, so I got a boatload of stuff. It's mostly from me. So Jason Richter from the Hindsightless podcast called me out for us talking about stuff we didn't know anything about because we didn't watch it, and that's a mostly fair criticism. There are some things I wouldn't try out and still wouldn't like I don't know, cocaine, but that's extreme. I think in general, what he suggested was a good idea, and I told him I would watch Masters of the Universe Revelations and give a critique of it. And to see if it matched what he said. He made a comment about us being, informed by our biases and only listening to certain people like Clownfish TV, Eric July, just some guy, these guys on YouTube that didn't like it, and a few other articles that didn't like it. And that's fair. But I think after I've watched it, I think we're mostly right, Joe. Probably. I think they were mostly right. I will give him this. The magic versus technology element of the story was pretty good. The animation was pretty good. I never liked He-Man at all. Still won't say I like it, but I thought they had some good scenes for a He-Man show in the series, the 5 episodes that I watch. But I would like to add, and I'm saying this very friendly, Jason, but I will turn the tables on you. You said that Preternia and Subternia were like heaven and hell in the Bible, and there were Christian themes running through He-Man. That is false for a couple of reasons. One, they do say heaven and hell, but it doesn't make them Christian heaven and hell.
No.
You kind of have to read the Bible to figure that part out. And even then, Christians aren't absolutely sure of what either one of those places look like. So you could say, well, it might be that. No, unlikely, because the way they're described in the Bible, hell especially, where the worm dieth not, eternal burning fire, away from God, doesn't look like Subternia at all. There is these green things that might have been fire. When the heroes went in, they all went to their own little secret world where they had to deal with illusions. You know how that works, Joe. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say that's not true, but I can't tell you if I were to go read the whole Bible. I mean, I would like you to, but that's not an easy assignment. My assignment would be much easier to watch 5 silly cartoons, 30 minutes long, than him to go read a book that's massive, mini book, 66 books to be.
Right. Let me interject here.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell, concepts that are not exclusive to Christianity.
Yeah.
So the idea of underworld, heaven,
absolutely
common in many religions. So
right.
It's Christian because it has a heaven and hell is just, it's kind of reaching.
Yeah, but hey, dude, I get what you're saying. You're trying to connect with me there, and that's cool. He was trying to get me to, I think Joe was trying to get me to say, hey, give it a chance, Christian boy. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And Tila not being a lesbian, I won't say you're on thin ice, but I think chances are actually still really good. I agree with you that there was nothing over the top, and 2 women can absolutely be friends. But not only do I don't know what they would call them. Would they be considered right-wing? I wouldn't consider just some guy and Eric July right-wing. He's a libertarian. But these people that are so quote-unquote seeing this are coming from both sides of the spectrum. You obviously could look up Eric July and just some guy in other places to find the people that thought, or Clownfish TV, to find people that thought, oh, there was a lesbian thing there. But what about autosaddle.com? They described it as it's fun, feminist, queer, show where Sarah Michelle Gellar really gays it up. So, and that's from a homosexual writer. And so they're seeing that in there. That may not be the case. Let's just toss that out. How about this? In one scene, the ladies, Evil Lynn, Andra, Tila, I think that's it. I'm not sure they had somebody else. They were walking, going on an adventure. They're going to save He-Man, because he was dead, trying to find Subternia and Preternia, these heavens and hells. And they're talking about stuff. And, Evil Lynn was once a bad guy, or is a bad guy. And Tila makes some offhand comment like, well, you carried a torch for Skeletor. And then what would be the obvious response? Well, you carried a torch for Prince Adam or He-Man. That's what people would think. No, you're carrying a torch for someone knowingly. Not Prince Adam. It can't be him, because I got news for you. In the first episode, in the first 5 minutes, he comes up behind her to hug her. She's about to be knighted, the new lady at arms or whatever she was called.
Didn't they call her man at arms still?
Huh?
Didn't they still?
Yeah, man at arms is still there, but she's going to take his role.
Yeah, but didn't they still call the role man at arms, whether she's
maybe so? She's about to become the battle guard queen of awesomeness. He comes up to hug her from behind, and she does a little quick trip and drops him to the ground. And he's being kind of smart-assy, but still, he's not trying to get her in a headlock. And she's like, I know everything about battle, and I know everything under the sun. And he's like, well, you don't know everything. You still don't know who He-Man is, right? And my point being, if she really loved Adam, is that what she would do? Maybe. He can't hug her? Okay, I don't get it. Whatever. I ain't prove it. I can't prove anything about it. I don't believe you can tell anything whether they're gay or not. But here's the deal. There's a long list of our little subverting expectations that Hollywood loves to do. And its show looks like it. You know?
There is a long established gay love fest for He-Man.
Absolutely. Yes. They do. They think He-Man's got a lot of gay subtext. So would it be shocking if Tila was lesbian? No. In fact, I'll be shocked if Kevin Smith doesn't make her that in the end. Well, but that's not really a big deal.
No, because they may never pay off on that.
Correct.
Because
and that'll disappoint.
Be attracting a particular segment of the community.
Yeah.
The community, so that they can get more eyes on their TV show.
Right.
So, the more buzz there is about Tila maybe being a lesbian, the more queer folk who will watch it. And like a lot of other people, they will project themselves into the characters and say, yeah, obviously, because a lot of people are.
I'm just saying there's as much chance that she is as she isn't.
Yeah.
It's not obvious. And most people don't think they're just pals, but they might be. I mean, that's fair enough. I'm not arguing that point. I'll give Joe a half point for that, and I'll take the other half. Tila, however, is an a-hole. She is a complete jerkwad. When Prince Adam is killed, when He-Man is killed initially, she comes back, the king and queen, and she's pissed off because he lied to me. No, he just didn't tell you something. He didn't tell you his secret identity. Sorry, you didn't pass muster. Man-at-Arms knew. What happened? The king kicks Man-at-Arms out of the kingdom. Boots him. Even though the king's wife, the queen, knows Prince Adam was He-Man. So, also, all the men look like idiots. That's par for the course. So it's got a lot of irritating feminist claptrap in there. I wouldn't say talking points, but they clearly make all the chicks super awesome.
Aren't they all muscly?
Yeah, which is not as bad as I thought it was originally. I don't think she's built like a dude, but she is really she got a big shouldered girl. So yeah, but whatever. She's the battle queen, so that's all cool. Here's the awesome thing with a-hole Tila. She rolls down in Subternia and she faces off this ghost-like Skeletor, who is a creature. It's like, look, I'll let you and your friends leave this hell or whatever. They don't call it hell, but Subternia. If you tell me what your fear is, your greatest fear. Her greatest fear is she's afraid she'll be too awesome, Joe. What is that? I'm afraid I might be better than Tom Brady at quarterbacking. That's my greatest fear, Joe.
Right.
The reason I don't get out on the football field is I don't want to make Tom Brady look that bad, because I think I might be him, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers all rolled up into one times two. You know, that's always been my fear, right? Since high school. So that's why I don't play NFL. So that's ridiculous. She has, and back to the king and queen, she has no sympathy for them. She gets mad and storms off. I quit. They just lost their son. She doesn't care. You didn't tell me about him. Whang. Whang. Go cry. She is a Mary Sue. She's unstoppable in every possible way.
Doesn't she end up having some kind of magic power?
I don't know about that yet. And look, I do like some of the story elements, but He-Man was killed twice, dude. He was killed in the first episode and the last episode.
He's done.
After they established the canon, he was in Preternia, the heaven, and they established that if he goes through this portal and goes to live again, if he dies again, he's screwed. He's not coming back to Preternia, even though he's one of the champions. So he does that, and then he gets killed almost immediately. And another way that he's like a little puppy dog. He follows her around. He's like, wherever you go, I'll go. I'll kiss your butt, Tila. And he says that, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense for a He-Man to be that kind of weak, you know?
Yeah, in the old version of He-Man, when he was Prince Adam and didn't, call the power, he was still a hero. He was. Still
I don't know. I'm just saying he was a puss when he was.
But he didn't look any different. He was still big and muscly. He just got the added power of. He
was thin. He was a littler guy.
I don't think so.
I saw him. Prince Adam was littler, but he wasn't tiny. He wasn't a wuss bag. He was just tinier. He was smaller. He-Man's like super barrel chested. He's more like a normal dude.
In this version.
Oh, I don't remember the old one.
The old one, he didn't look any different except only cosmetically.
So
he was a big hero guy.
The story is about rescuing He-Man, but every time they go back in memory and have a scene with He-Man, he sounds like a complete moron. But I think he had corny one-liners anyway, so that might have been consistent.
Yeah.
But I would compare this story. Here's how I would compare it. Kevin Smith comes out. I'm going to do a new Justice League movie. Okay. Oh yeah. Are you going to star Superman? Oh yeah. Superman's the dude. Superman dies at the beginning. Wonder Woman gets pissed at the Justice League, looks at Batman. I can't believe you didn't tell me he was Clark Kent. And Batman gets kicked out of the Justice League, and Wonder Woman storms off. I'm not following this team anymore. I'm doing my own thing. And her Amazon friends, whoever she's with, goes out and they do adventures for money. That's what Tila does now, just for cash. It's all about the cash.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, she's a mercenary, which is, it's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, I can see someone being offended, but it's like, and don't care. Don't give a crap that Lois is crying. Doesn't give a crap that Mom and Pa Kent have lost their son. Just says, screw you guys, I'm out. Or if more like Lois doing that.
Right.
That is subversion on a level that's unacceptable. That's garbage. Oh, and then at the end, Superman comes back, but he dies immediately.
Again.
And Wonder Woman gets to become, and she gets this power. She becomes Kryptonian. I mean, that didn't happen. That didn't happen in the He-Man show. She didn't get she has the sort of power, but she's not quite the He-Woman or She-Ra or whatever she's supposed to be. Right. But it's probably going to happen.
I've seen the quote given that, he really did fan service with this movie. But I'm not sure how. Most fans of He-Man, I believe, were dudes like us.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see He-Man. And I know technically He-Man's in every episode, but it's flashbacks.
He didn't use He-Man in the title. That's what they say. The original show was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Now it's just Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, so that should have been the clue, but of course it was not going to be, because dude said it's about He-Man, and He-Man got sidelined. I don't know. I don't care how you want to slice it. He-Man got sidelined.
Absolutely.
Man-at-Arms got sidelined.
So I'll give him this. When Man-at-Arms did make his appearance later on, he was totally BA. He did cool stuff. As an old man, he was kicking butt and taking names. But he still knelt to Tila and apologized for the 97th time, I'm sure. I have no idea how much time passed between the original Tila said, screw off, I'm leaving, and then she found Man-at-Arms in this town. The implication is many months, if not years. And then he's all bowing down to her like, I'm so sorry that I did this to you. Okay, I get it. It's like Jimmy Olsen getting mad. Not Jimmy Olsen, but Batman doing that to Wonder Woman. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you because you didn't need to know.
Right. Because what happens to people.
That's what Batman would say to Wonder Woman. You didn't need to know.
That's what happens when secrets get out.
Yeah.
Loose lips sink ships.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So if it got out that Adam was He-Man, it's possible that Skeletor could have used that against He-Man and Adam by, kidnapping Tila or whatever, which he may have done a bunch in the freaking cartoon anyway. But
yeah. And Doofus Kevin Smith, I'm sure, has already said, well, he mentioned about bringing He-Man back. So you're going to kill him twice and bring him back twice, even though by canon you can't. Right. By canon, you can't bring him back. Yeah. It's over.
There's going to be some secret sauce that, there might be some secret sauce.
Well, a lot of people are thinking that Andra, the black gal, is going to be the next He-Man or She-Champion or whatever she's going to be called.
You never know.
But I mean, Kevin Smith just pooped on the fandom. And And I'm not even a fan.
A segment of the fandom. So there's a segment of the
I
fandom.
loves him, because he subverted expectation. Very Ryan Johnson-y of him.
Yeah. And
so,
he said, I didn't want to be Ryan Johnson, but he was.
Yeah. Well, even if he's not as bad as Ryan Johnson, I'll give him, he's like Ryan Johnson light.
Light.
And as a story goes, it was decent, as long as you don't know that He-Man's actually important. But you would not come away from that thinking He-Man was a star. You'd be thinking, man, Tila is the bomb. She's all things great and wonderful. So, yeah, we got several links. I think Joe will include them of reviews of people that don't care for it. And again, I would direct you to autostraddle.com and check out their Sarah Michelle Gellar Gaze Up Motu if you're interested, from the other side who loved it.
Yeah,
so
there's
most of it,
that author who really enjoys the fact that there are fanboys.
Yes.
Don't like it. Yeah. Very
like
militant in her.
Calling them incels. And dude, you don't know these people. And I've got a friend who is a big He-Man. One of our friends, I won't call him out unless he wants to. He liked it. I actually gave him a homework and said, dude, please watch this. And he did. And he goes, I liked it. I agree with what Joe said for the most part. And then I had a couple others say, would you watch it all? And they did. Another one of our friends, they go, you know what? It's kind of poop.
Right.
And he agreed with me. So some other.
This is subjective.
Exactly. So Joe can have his opinion, but he can't act like, now you can't say I didn't watch it. Joe can't say that. And I'm not wrong.
Right.
Okay. Doesn't mean I'm perfectly right. It's an opinion and it's informed. And I just listed several reasons why I think that.
What all were
take it or leave it. I don't care.
What all were we supposedly wrong about? Do you remember?
Basically the lesbian stuff.
Yeah, well, that's an open question.
Sure.
And just like everybody who wants to put in subtext for Star Trek.
Based on what's coming up next, I don't think the lesbian thing's far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched.
In negative plane. But let's move on if we can. Let's move on. Let it go. Just a little note. A friend's daughter tried to listen to our show last week before. She had to turn it off in the first 5 minutes. So it's okay. She's a sweetheart. She couldn't listen to us.
Why?
We're too right-leaning, baby. We're too right-leaning.
Right?
Too much. And it's a shame because she's a good gal. She's trying to be a dungeon master. And our friend said, hey, listen to Randy and Joe. They can give you some good advice. And he even told her, hey, skip through their monologues about when they get preachy and stuff or whenever they get, political, just skip it. But she couldn't. So if you're out there, I won't name you, sweetheart. Randy still loves you. You're awesome. So it's cool. She grew up not with my daughter, but close to the same time. So she's a cool lady. She's got a kid of her own, family of her own, smart. So she's welcome not to like us. It's okay.
She's welcome, but you're not really all that right-leaning.
No, we're not really. More like neutral. It just feels like it these days. Well, she didn't say right-leaning. That's my words. I don't know what she said. She couldn't watch us. I think we said something about COVID, and she was kind of put off by that.
Now, that I can see why people would just turn us off.
Sure,
If they drink the whole Kool-Aid on COVID, sure. If
we drunk the Kool-Aid, they think we've drunk the Kool-Aid on non-COVID. So what?
The vaccine isn't the only answer to COVID. There's something wrong with you. So
yeah. All right. Last little bit then.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yes. I'm the one who brought this one up.
Yes.
Not that I'm a comic book guy.
No.
But I know enough about Batman
to
know that unless they make it very overt in the canon, things just aren't so, like Robin being bi.
Okay. I'm going to cut you off there just because. I'm going to get to it. I did some research. Go ahead, Joe. Finish.
Has Robin, the current Robin, which there's been, 4?
But be careful. So Damian Wayne is the current Robin. He is Bruce Wayne and Talia's son.
This Robin is the Red Robin, right?
Who used to be Robin for, 32 years. Yeah. 32 actual world years, not comic book years.
So this current Robin that we're getting ready to talk about, who's
Tim Drake.
Red Robin? Tim
Drake. He's been known by that, yes, yeah. I believe.
Has only dated women.
Correct.
Ever. Right.
Stephanie Brown, the spoiler, he dated Batgirl for a bit. That was in an alternate world. He dated several women. But yeah.
And as is pointed out
Multicultural too, different
Right.
races. Yep.
As it's pointed out by some dude,
Mm-hmm.
what they use a lot in comic books is thought bubbles.
Yep. Just some guy. Yep.
Just some guy, not dude.
He's awesome. Listen to his YouTube channel. He's great.
He's great. If Robin were gay or bi, he's always around beautiful men.
Yep.
You think that they might leak out a little bit his thoughts? I mean, comic book characters' thoughts are almost constant throughout comics.
Yep.
I mean, when one of the things I loved about Captain America was while he was fighting, or Batman even, while he was fighting, the thought bubble was, I know this guy is going to do this because I've been in these kinds of situations so many times. You know, he's getting ready to raise his left shoulder, which is going to expose his flank. And I'm going to be able to punch him really good and break 10 ribs.
Right.
So, and that's just one example of thought bubbles. And if this fellow who's been depicted for a long time was like this, there should have been some signals. And there's going to be people who are like, well, of course he is, and this is the reason why, and it's going to be grasping at straws like they do with He-Man because he wore purple spandex. Of course that means he's a gay icon. So,
dude, and the pro side, which I have a few links of sources. In fact, one's called thesource.com, there's variety.com. You can find it quickly. They're just singing the praises of this. And a lot of those people that praise, they want him to be in with Superboy. Apparently him and the new Kent son, who's Superboy, he's actually Clark's son, is he wants them to have they said, oh, they've been taught, we thought they were gay for the longest time. I'm like, okay, whatever.
What they mean is they wanted them to be.
Correct.
Yeah, because people put those, just like the subtext, they have these comic books, this is my opinion, somehow stupid fanfic writers, like the ones who were writing all those fanfic novels about Star Trek where Kirk and Spock were gay lovers.
Right.
Lowbrow writers like that have been hired by these comic book companies.
I think
probably
so.
They're probably all diversity hires.
Yeah.
And now they're subverting all of these characters for their own purposes. A lot of it is projection, I think. They're putting themselves in these characters. And, I wonder what it'd be like if they were gay. Not that they were already that. Just let's make them that way for some reason.
And this is a new tack they've had for years, the whole Batman and Boy Wonder. Oh, there's a gay. Everybody goes, oh, that's gay. That's a gay relationship. Why does it have to be that? To echo Joe's comment, Joe Richter's, about two girls being friends, can't a man adopt a boy that just lost both of his parents? I guess not. And it's got to be gay. So I'll throw that out there. And how about this? The last several writers that are worth a daggone, Alan Grant, Chuck Dixon, Doug Minch, some of the best writers for Batman came out and said, no, there's not a gay thing going on here. And Bob Kane, he said it too. It's not a gay thing.
Right.
So, people are just, like you said, they're reading into it and projecting. However, now they're not projecting because they're making Robin bi. He is dating some blonde boy.
Right.
So they're
now, they might not necessarily be projecting. It could be that they're following orders.
Oh, I don't know.
It's possible that just like at Netflix, have a diversity and inclusion rules for new shows. They have to have X amount of different sorts of people. So He-Man was going to have black people in it, which is fine. But they were told they needed to, or they already knew that was part of the agenda at Netflix, so they just did it anyway.
Yeah.
And the whole gay, they probably had, maybe they had some subtext in there that I wouldn't have been able to see.
Right.
LBGT groups are seeing and liking, and they know how to weave it in there so that they can see it. So that works on some level for the folks at Netflix. Maybe this is a little bit of what I think. I don't know if it's true.
No, we don't either. We don't know.
I do know that Netflix has rules for diversity and inclusion. So anything that is a Netflix produced thing must have these things.
Right.
And So, and like I said, I'm not crying about it. I'm not really, it's more of an eye roller than anything else. And as Eric July has said, you still have your back issues.
Yep.
And your memories. You don't have to feel like your childhood, like you don't have to feel your childhood is being taken away from you.
Right. And I said that to Joe earlier today.
Right.
And I admit it, I was angry. And I'm less angry now. And you're right. They can't take, I have a butt ton of comic books where none of that crap's in it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of stuff I like and I can read it.
It doesn't affect them in a backwards way. You still have those things, you have your memories, and the way Eric July put it, this stuff ain't canon.
Yeah. And it's, and there's another note too with just a quick comment. This is, I've only got these 2 articles on the X-Men polyamory thing. Apparently Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Cyclops are supposed to be in some polyamorous relationship. And this is according to a lot of left-leaning articles. They haven't come out and said it. This guy Hickman, though, just some guys pointed out, this guy Hickman is known for putting that bait out for that community so they can start reading subtext. It's funny you said that. He mentioned that this Hickman guy, who's a pretty good writer, puts that out there. And there's a lot of things that kind of just imply it. They don't show it. But those articles are like Wolverine and Cyclops are actually gay and they're in a relationship with Jean Grey. And one's like, whatever. It's like, it's a joke. It's just a joke. And I'm done with Marvel and DC. I am not buying any more comics from them at all. I don't care at all about them. I'm going to look for more independent producers, get on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and see what's being made. And hopefully Eric July will get his comic books started soon. I'll give those a try and just support people that write things that I think are worth reading. Yeah. So it's not that I don't want to, not that I'm going to lose my mind over a gay character. Right. I don't think that woman was that bad because she was written as a gay character from the beginning. And actually she was halfway decent back in the day when I read about her early on. But it's just, I don't like them jumping in and taking all the characters I know already, then making up some garbage about them that's not even connected to anything. Just tell superhero stories. Wow. Can you do that?
Yes, please. So,
which apparently they've lost that ability.
Right. So like I said, I'm not losing any sleep over this. It's
no.
High roller. I think it's more humorous and anything else that these folks have so little creative juice about them that they have to use this as their new thing or this is the thing that makes me cool. I've turned Robin gay.
Yeah.
Why?
Him and Superboy are going to be lovers now. How awesome is that? Well, it's not awesome at all.
No, who cares? So
who cares? But actually, I have to admit, I'm a little angrier than Joe, but I'm a little more serious. I was a collector where Joe was.
I'm not a collector.
And I was into it since I was young, and I've left and come back. But they just made it clear they don't want my money. And that's okay.
They don't. They have their agenda. They should just, Marvel and DC, they might as well change their logos to be pink.
Yep.
After this, because that's pretty much, that's what rules the roost. I mean,
yep.
The progressive ideas that subvert you. They want traditional type characters to be subverted.
Correct.
Not where it might make sense for some of them, perhaps. I don't know, but it's just wherever. I mean, wherever. So I never really was a collector, so this doesn't affect me a whole lot. I just think it's par for the course. It's an eye roller. It's something that it's great fodder for me to be nasty about it.
Yeah. To be clear,
like
the Robin is by. The Robin is by is a thing. They've written that in the books.
Yes.
The polyamory is just a theory that they don't shy away from in the new X-Men books.
Right.
Since they've rejiggered it, moved them to a new universe on their own little island. And check, if Joe puts those 2 links in there, they'll both explain to you from the perspective, the pink perspective of why they think it's that. I'd like to think it's not, and I'm sure you can come back and go, oh, that's not it. That's fine. But I'm not reading it. I don't have nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with DC or Marvel. They can just go on and do their thing.
Just like WotC doing this and Paizo doing similar things, It's easy to ignore. Play other games, buy other things if you want to. That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
You do what you want.
Yep. If you like it, read it.
But I'm
If you
sure
wanna
going to make fun of
buy
it. I'm
And
sure
I'm going to make fun of it. So, yeah,
because it's ripe for derision.
100%, 100%, utter garbage.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it, bro.
Yes.